Hi friends, welcome back to our channel UiPath by Sujitha. In this video, we are going to learn about a basic concept. Even though it is a basic concept, it is a stepping stone in our RPA journey. So if you are a new learner of UiPath RPA, you have to know about this. If you are very new to coding or these kind of languages, you have to go through this. So that is nothing but variables. We are going to learn about the variables. Even though being some 15 years of experience or 20 years of experienced person in any of the programming languages, when you simply ask what are variables, they may think about the definition. What will be the best definition to give this answer, to answer this question? So these kind of confusion may arise. So we have to be very confident enough when we are learning something. So we have to learn the basics. Basic is our foundation in any programming language. Similarly, when you come to RPA, UiPath, knowing variables play a vital role in UiPath. So when you are automating a process, you are supposed to know what is a variable, what is an argument, and how or this data will be storing here in variables, and what kind of data is acceptable through the variables. So all these concepts are very basic. Even though they sound to be basic information, you have to be very confident on this. Agree? Right. So now let us cover highlights of what these variables are. What is a variable? Variable. Name itself is telling, right? It is going to vary, right? It is going to be changed. Something we are storing here which may or may not change. Vary, right? Vary. So variables are a stepping stone in our RPA journey. Okay, so that is the reason we are learning about variables in this session. Fine. In general language, we can compare these as containers. Variables are nothing but containers which can hold values of similar data types. We'll come to this data types later. So data type, when we are storing a data into this variable or the container, same kind of data is going to be stored in this container, which is nothing but a variable, right? So the type of data is nothing but data type. Okay, when we are saving similar kind of data into a container which may or may not change during the entire process, that is nothing but our variable. Okay, so just make a note of this key highlights so that it will be easy for you to refer again instead of searching it back for our video. Okay, so I hope you are noting this down through your notepad or pen or notepad here in your system. Let us consider an example. Suppose my name is, when I say like when someone asks for your name, you should answer this way. So my name is Sujitha. So instead of Sujitha, you should give your name. When I say this, what you are going to do? You are going to replace Sujitha with your name, right? My name is Sunita. My name is Divya. My name is John, right? So you are going to replace that. So instead of this, I could say that, for example, my name is Sujitha. Instead of Sujitha, you are supposed to change your name. Keep your name here. So instead of that, what I'll do is, I'll give a variable name. Let me give it in a separate line. So instead of that, when you say my name is name, okay, so this is nothing but a variable, right? So you can place your data here with similar data type. What is the data type I am passing here? I am passing it as a string. Okay. So now there are different parameters, different points you should understand here when it comes to variables. One is about data types and the other one is naming convention. Okay. So one point here is data type and the other one here you need to understand is the naming convention. Okay. So let us concentrate on naming convention first. So naming convention, why we need to follow a naming convention when we create a variable? It is for our better readability and better understanding. When you are going through, just consider a very big project where you just initialized a variable str a name. Okay, I don't know what I'm passing into this, what kind of data I'm passing into this. Maybe in some 2-3 files it is passing on, and at last you are making a change to this data which is present in the name. So I don't know what kind of data it can accept. So instead of going back till the first page where you have initialized, first file where you have initialized, by seeing the file, the name of the variable itself, you can understand that this is a variable which is going to accept only the string data, right? So if you see this str underscore name, or you can say like int underscore phone number, right? If you see this int, you can assume that it is going to accept integers, and I don't know whether it accepts the double or not. So if I say like dbl underscore mobile number, I can say like price. Okay, so it is going to accept the double value, right? Or if you say like boolean underscore exist, so this means true or false. It can accept only true or false. So this way, throughout the project, if you see the naming convention which is starting with the data type, based on this you can assume what kind, you can understand, right, what kind of data this variable is going to accept, right? So this is the use of naming convention. So the straightforward rule is you have to go with Camel case, or we can name it as Pascal case. That means Pascal case. That means, so first letter, if you see here, first number, phone number, phone, P is cap, and then all smalls, and N is capital letter, all smalls. So you can go with Pascal case. Okay, so that is nothing but Pascal case. And then first 3 letters or 3 or 4 characters with which represents the data type it contains. Okay, so if you see this, first 3 characters represents the data type, first 3 characters, or first 4 characters. Okay, in this. So this way naming convention should be, in order to increase or improve your readability of the project. And in some organizations they will be having some slight modifications in this naming convention, and according to the organization we are supposed to follow. But it is a general practice and it is a best practice if you follow a naming convention when you are working for any automation. Okay, fine. Now let us come to data types. What kind of data types are available for variables in UiPath? In general, what kind of data types we know? String, which accepts all string data, integer, right? And then Boolean, right? What else are there? We have arrays, then lists, then dictionary, right? We have many collections. So many data types are there. Along with this, an exclusive to UiPath, that is called generic variable, generic data type, generic. We'll talk about this because generic is going to accept all kind of data, any kind, any type of data is acceptable by generic data type variable. Okay, fine. So we'll talk about this data types in a separate session because this is a very huge topic. So for now, just remember this part. So data type is nothing but the type which this variable is going to accept, right? Now, the most important point, we have to know how to create variables in UiPath Studio, right? So we have already covered this through our variables video in our channel. If you can go through that video, you can understand different ways of creating variables. Okay, on a high level, I can show you here like how to create variables in UiPath Studio. It is simple, but there could be a slight, an interview question where you are supposed to learn different options or different ways in creating variables. Also, the key properties of a variable is important. So let us cover this as well as the key properties of variables. Okay, we'll cover these 2 points, okay, before we wind up this session. So how to create variables in UiPath Studio? So we can create in 3 different ways. One is through variables panel, right? Quickly I can navigate to our studio. Please open your studio and just go through this what I'm showing it right now. Okay, so if you just open any, okay, let me open a main XML. So in design panel here you could see variables, arguments and imports, right? So if you click on variables, see you could see here, and then okay, let me have a activity, maybe some assign activity. Then yeah, this is your variable line. So on click of this, it can give variable type, scope and default. Now name your variable str name. Okay, fine, just save it, fine. And then you can change the scope as well. We'll come to this later. So this is one way how to create a variable from the variables panel. And the second way is through expressions. Okay, where is this? Let me show you here. When you see this assign activity, enter a VB expression, right? So when you are giving input to any activity, you could get this expression, what to say, the field or expression editor, where I can just use ctrl+k so that set where it is asking to give your name, str name of the variable, str first name. I can give int value, int mobile. Okay, so even though I have created int here, by default it is giving a string variable, right? So I'm supposed to go back to this variable panel and then change accordingly. Okay, fine. Now you got the difference, right? One way is through variables and the other way is through the expressions. In expressions, how we are using? We are using in expressions using ctrl+k. plus k. Later we are supposed to again navigate to variables panel to adjust the data type accordingly. Next, through properties panel. How to create this? Again the same way. Just select any of these activities. Go to your properties, and if you see here, any VB expression, any field in VB expression which gives the expression, so editable field, there just click ctrl+k, set var will come, so you can create your variable, right? So I am giving some bool underscore, say I can say like exists. Okay, enter. So as soon as we create this way, you could see the same being listed here in variables panel. Immediately you are supposed to change the variable type. You are supposed to adjust the variable type accordingly. So these are the three ways to create variables. One is from variables panel, the other one is through expression from any of the activities, input fields in activities, and then from properties panel where you could find the expression, editable expression fields. So use ctrl+k, this is the shortcut to create any variable. Also, as soon as you create any variable through properties or through activities and using expressions, you are supposed to adjust the variable type accordingly. Okay, fine. Now let us move on to the other one. Now let us concentrate on key properties of variables. What are the key properties of variables? Can anyone guess? Just now we have gone through that, right? So if you see in variables panel, you could see name, variable type, scope and default. So these are the key properties of any variable. Fine. So this is going to be an important interview question, not only through interview perspective. Just know the concept and learn the things so that you'll rock this technology. Fine. Key properties of variables. What are the key properties we have? Just now we have seen name of the variable, then data type is one more key property, and what else? Scope, and what is the default value. Okay, so name is nothing but we are giving a name to the variable, right? That itself. Data type is the type of data which we are going to store in the variable. Scope, what is the scope of the variable? So till which scope, till which container this variable can be available. So suppose I have a sequence here, and inside that one more, this I can say like main, and inside that I have one more sequence where I am going to give us child, and just let us move this activity inside. So if you see here str name, I am going to change this to child, right? When I click on main, that str name is not available here, if you see. And when I select child, this is coming. So there are like global or specific to particular container. So all these can be adjusted through scope. So the scope of each variable can be changed using this property here, so that the so-called variable will be available within that scope itself. Okay, fine. Now let us come to default. Default is nothing but the default value. Say for example, I give the default name as Sujitha. So until and unless you replace this value, you modify this value, it will not change. It will contain the default value even though if you forget to pass some value in this, right? So what is going to be the default value into this variable? So this is nothing but the key properties. These are nothing but the key properties of variables. Now let us see one more important concept in variables, that is the final one. I'll close the session, but this is what are different kinds in changing a variable. in how many ways we can change the data in a variable. How many ways we can change a data? Either through we can initialize. For people who know this technology very well, or programming language, for them it seems to be very silly or seems to be very simple concept. But for those who are learning it from the scratch, and when you go to any interview, these kind of questions we sometimes may struggle a lot to answer. So it is very important to go through this complete video. Okay, fine. So what are different kinds? How many ways are there to change a variable? So one is like using external input. So we are passing a value externally to the variable. That means through what to say, I pass it as external in default, right? So that is one way. So one more is through data manipulation. So external input, say for example in assign activity, we are assigning some value externally, right? This is nothing but external input. So next one is through data manipulation. What I am going to do is suppose I have int value is there, right? So let me what is the int value? Int mobile. Let me change this. Okay, int mobile. Okay, so just save this. What I'm going to do is +1 I'm doing. So I'm just manipulating the data inside this int mobile. So this way also I can pass or change the value in the variable, right? So this is one way. First is external input, then next is data manipulation, and third one is by passing from different activities. So from the previous activity, maybe we can pass some value to the next one, next activity or next variable, right? So we can pass the value from one activity to another activity. So these way, these are the different approaches or different ways to work on the data in a variable. Okay, fine. So just quickly recap what and all we have covered this in this session. We learned about the variables, what is the importance of variables, and what are the variables. Variables is nothing but the containers which can hold values of similar data types, and we have seen what is a data type, and example also we have seen, and how many kinds of data type are available in UiPath. On a high level, anyways, we are going to cover this on a separate big session. And then what is the naming convention to be followed while creating a variable, and how many ways are there in creating a variables in UiPath Studio. So there are 3 ways, 3 different approaches. And then what are the key properties of variables we have covered. So these are the key properties of variables, where we could see in the variables panel. Also we have just touched the different kinds in passing value to a variable. Okay, so I hope we have covered a very basic concept called variables in a full-fledged way. Okay, so if you like this video, please do like the video and share with your friends and colleagues. Also, if you have any suggestions or feedback, please provide it through the comment section, so that it will help us a lot to our upcoming videos. Okay, thank you so much for the support so far. Keep watching our videos and do subscribe if you are a new visitor to our channel. Let us meet through our next videos. Until then, take care. Bye bye.